In the quiet, dusty town of Mineral Wells, Texas, a single photograph tells a story that still sends shivers down the spine. It's a simple picture, a mother and her children on a porch, but it hides a secret so dark it became a local legend. The sign in the front yard reads, "For children for sale, inquire within." This isn't just a prop for a horror movie. This was the grim reality for the Chalafoux family in the summer of 1948. The woman in the photo is Lucille Chalafoux. She's shielding her face, perhaps from the camera, or maybe from the shame of what she was about to do. Around her are her children, Lana, Ray, Milton, and Sue Ellen. Her husband, Ray, had just lost his job as a coal truck driver, and the family was facing eviction. Lucille, pregnant with their 5th child, felt she had run out of options. In a moment of pure desperation, she concocted a plan that would shatter her family forever. The sign wasn't a joke. It was a desperate plea and a shocking advertisement. Soon, people started showing up, not to offer help, but to inquire about the sale. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? Neighbors and strangers coming to your home, not to lend a hand, but to bargain for your children. Among the interested parties were John and Ruth Zeltman, a farming couple who were struggling to have children of their own. They saw the photo and the accompanying story in a newspaper. Their initial intention, they later claimed, was to help the entire family. But when they arrived at the Chalafoux home, the situation unfolded differently. They weren't there to adopt, they were there to buy. They offered Lucille $2 for her son, Ray, who was then 2.5 years old. $2, less than the price of a movie ticket today. That was the price tag placed on a child's life. Lucille accepted. The deal was struck. Ray, the father, reportedly helped his wife carry out this transaction. The Zeltmans weren't just taking Ray, they were also taking his older brother, Milton. Their names were changed to David and Philip, an attempt to erase their past and give them a new beginning. But this new beginning was anything but idyllic. The boys were taken to the Zeltman farm, where they weren't treated as sons, but as laborers. They were tied up in a barn, forced into hard labor, and subjected to horrific abuse. They were essentially slaves. David, formerly Ray, would later recall being called the slave by his new father. It was a life of misery, a far cry from the loving home they were torn from, however poor it may have been. What happened to the other children? The story gets even more tragic. The youngest, Sue Ellen, was adopted by a kind couple, the Grahams, and had a relatively normal and loving upbringing. She was the lucky one. Lana, the oldest girl, was also adopted but found herself in a home filled with religious fanaticism and strict rules. She eventually ran away at 17, seeking freedom from a life she never chose. And what of Lucille, the mother who made this impossible choice? After selling Ray and Milton, she gave birth to her 5th child, a boy named David. Ironically, the father, Ray, took this new baby and left Lucille. He wanted nothing more to do with her. So, Lucille was left with nothing. No husband, no children, no home. The story, however, doesn't end there. Decades passed. The scattered siblings grew up, haunted by fragmented memories and a deep sense of loss. They were strangers to each other, scattered by a single desperate act. Ray, now David, grew up carrying the weight of his traumatic past. He was angry, rebellious, and deeply wounded. The abuse he suffered on the farm left scars that never truly faded. He felt a burning need to understand what happened, to find the family he barely remembered. His search for truth became his life's mission. In a remarkable twist of fate, the siblings eventually began to find each other. Sue Ellen, who had the most stable upbringing, was the one who started piecing the puzzle together. She had always known she was adopted and felt a pull to find her biological family. Through painstaking research and a bit of luck, she located her siblings one by one. Imagine the reunions, decades of separation, a lifetime of questions. When they finally met as adults, the emotions were overwhelming. There was joy, confusion, and a profound sadness for the years they had lost. They shared their stories, comparing their different lives. Sue Ellen's happy childhood stood in stark contrast to the hell her brothers endured. The guilt she felt, the survivor's guilt, was immense. Why did she get a good life while her brothers suffered? They tried to find their mother, Lucille. They wanted answers. They needed to hear her side of the story. They eventually found her, living in a home, riddled with cancer. The reunion was not what they had hoped for. Lucille was distant, unremorseful. She offered no apologies, no explanations. She simply said she had done what she had to do. For the children, this was perhaps the most devastating blow of all. The hope for closure, for a mother's love and regret, was shattered. Lucille passed away, taking her secrets and her reasons to the grave. The siblings were left to grapple with the aftermath. They had found each other, but the happy family reunion they dreamed of was complicated by a lifetime of trauma and a mother's ultimate betrayal. Ray, or David, who suffered the most, spent his life trying to advocate for abused children. He turned his pain into a purpose, speaking out against the kind of cruelty he experienced. He wanted to ensure that no other child would have to endure what he and his brother went through. The photograph of the 4 children for sale remains a haunting artifact of American history. It's a stark reminder of how poverty and desperation can drive people to unthinkable acts. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Can we judge Lucille? Can we ever truly understand the depths of her desperation? While her actions were monstrous, the circumstances that led her there were a product of a society that failed her and her family. This isn't just a story about a family torn apart. It's a story about resilience. It's about the unbreakable bond of siblings, a bond that transcended time, distance, and unimaginable hardship. They found their way back to each other, piecing together their broken family, creating a new legacy of love and support out of the ashes of their past. Their story serves as a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to endure and the enduring hope for connection, even in the face of the darkest chapters of our lives. It's a story that stays with you long after you've heard it, a somber melody of lost survival and the complicated nature of family. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating historical events.